Welcome, beautiful Sigma ladies. Beware of the quiet storm, because it doesn't announce its arrival, it just changes the entire landscape. Psychologists have found that people who are less socially dependent often display higher resilience and sharper decision-making skills. Now translate that into a woman who doesn't just survive without approval, but thrives in spite of it. That's the Sigma female. She isn't the loudest voice in the room. She isn't posting inspirational quotes every hour, and she's not auditioning for anyone's validation. Yet somehow she unsettles, fascinates, and even intimidates without lifting a finger. The irony? While the world is busy obsessing over alphas and betas, like some kind of outdated animal documentary, the Sigma female quietly rewrites the rules in real time. And she does it so smoothly, you don't even realize the script has changed until she's already 10 moves ahead. Call it mysterious, call it unsettling, or if you're brave enough, call it revolutionary. But one thing's certain, the Sigma female is a force to be reckoned with. Number 1. She's the endgame others didn't prepare for. She's the endgame others didn't prepare for. Most people waste their energy on the opening rounds of life, competing for attention, chasing validation, playing dominance games, or rushing to hit society's checklist. They burn out in the process, bragging about wins that don't age well. The Sigma female doesn't play that game. She doesn't sprint just to prove she can run. She moves quietly, strategically, and often underestimated. That's what makes her so dangerous. By the time people realize she's even in the race, she's already crossed the finish line. Her power comes from patience. While others treat life like a popularity contest, she treats it like a long strategy. She doesn't mind being overlooked in the beginning because she knows the opening scene isn't where the real story is written. She lets others waste themselves trying to dominate every room while she studies, refines, and sharpens herself in silence. And when the dust settles, the alpha who looked unstoppable often finds himself exhausted, while she is only just starting to show her strength. What makes her the endgame is that she isn't addicted to the short-term wins that hook everyone else. She doesn't need applause for every move she makes. She doesn't need her life to be publicly validated. That detachment gives her an advantage no one sees coming. By not chasing attention, she conserves her energy for the moments that actually matter. She knows timing beats noise every single time. And here's the part people don't expect. She's not trying to beat anyone. She's not obsessed with outshining her rivals. She plays by her own rules, sets her own metrics, and lets others exhaust themselves competing in a game she never agreed to. That's why she feels like the final boss in people's lives. They spent years preparing for battles with predictable opponents, only to discover someone who refuses to fight on their terms. By the time others realize she's the real threat, it's too late to catch up. She's already built her fortress of independence, carved her own path, and created a life that doesn't crumble if people withdraw their approval. She's the quiet storm that never looked like much at first, but in the end, she's the one no one can defeat. That's why the Sigma female will always be the endgame others never prepared for. Number 2. She generates fear without threats. Others feel it immediately, even if she's just standing there quietly. She doesn't raise her voice, flaunt power, or demand attention, yet there's a presence about her that can make people second-guess themselves. It's the kind of fear that doesn't come from intimidation. It comes from unpredictability and complete autonomy. When someone realizes she isn't beholden to them, that she can leave, ignore, or simply outlast anyone trying to control her, it triggers an instinctive respect laced with unease. She doesn't need to make threats or prove herself physically or socially. Her independence does all the work. People notice that she cannot be bought, cajoled, or manipulated. They see someone moving through life with calm assurance, unaffected by gossip, pressure, or expectation. That alone unsettles those who rely on influence, control, or conformity to feel powerful. Her fear factor is subtle, but undeniable. It's in the way she makes decisions without hesitation, speaks without over-explaining, and values herself without seeking permission. It's terrifying not because she's loud, aggressive, or dramatic, but because she exposes the fragility of those who assume everyone can be corralled, swayed, or owned. In her presence, people realize just how dependent they are on validation and influence. and that realization alone is enough to make her quietly formidable. In short, she shakes the room without moving. She disarms without confrontation. She generates fear not through threat, but by existing entirely on her own terms, and that makes her far more intimidating than anyone who relies on force or spectacle. Number 3. She disarms people by refusing the script. She doesn't follow the lines society hands her. While most people expect women to fit into neat boxes, always charming, always agreeable, always performing a predictable role, she steps completely outside of it. She doesn't flirt to gain attention, compete to prove herself, or act nurturing to please anyone. Her behavior can't be anticipated, and that unpredictability throws people off balance. Those who rely on stereotypes, people who categorize women to feel in control, find her almost impossible to read. They try to guess her motives, anticipate her reactions, or manipulate her behavior, and every attempt fails. She refuses to play by anyone else's rules, and that refusal is disarming. People feel uneasy around her, not because she's aggressive or confrontational, but because she doesn't conform. Her unpredictability is quiet yet powerful. She can be serious, playful, or distant at any given moment, and she never feels the need to explain herself. That makes her presence unsettling to those who rely on patterns and scripts to navigate social interactions. By refusing the script, she not only protects her autonomy, but also keeps everyone around her guessing, giving her a subtle edge in any situation. She doesn't need to perform or perform well to be respected. Her refusal to fit molds becomes a statement in itself. She exists on her own terms, and anyone who tries to pigeonhole her quickly realizes she won't be contained. That's why she disarms people so effortlessly. Her unpredictability is her silent power. Number 4. Her silence is a power play, not a void. Her silence isn't emptiness, it's deliberate, strategic, and full of weight. While most people feel compelled to fill every moment with words, explanations, or reactions, she stays quiet, letting the room adjust to her presence rather than the other way around. That quietness forces people to confront themselves. They start projecting their assumptions, fears, and insecurities onto her, trying to fill the gap she intentionally leaves. Her silence commands attention without demanding it. People lean in, not because she's shouting, but because they feel the gravity of her restraint. Every glance, every pause, every moment of non-reaction carries more impact than 1,000 words. She doesn't need to argue, defend, or explain. Her quietness communicates far more powerfully than speech ever could. This isn't about being mysterious for show, it's about control without confrontation. By refusing to participate in endless chatter or predictable responses, she shapes the environment around her. People instinctively recognize that she is self-contained, unaffected by external noise, and that realization can make them uncomfortable. Her silence amplifies her presence. It makes people overthink, second-guess, and sometimes even fear their own misjudgments. That's why her quiet is more than calm. It's a subtle but undeniable assertion of power. She doesn't need to speak to dominate a room. Her stillness alone shifts the balance. Number 5. She's too rare to categorize. She doesn't fit into any box, and that's exactly what makes her formidable. Society loves categories, alpha, beta, leader, follower, because they simplify the world and make it predictable. The Sigma female doesn't conform to these labels. She isn't competing for dominance like an alpha, and she isn't seeking approval or guidance like a beta. She simply exists on her own plane where the usual rules don't apply. This refusal to be categorized frustrates people because it breaks the mental shortcuts they rely on to understand others. They try to predict her moves, assign her a role, or fit her into familiar hierarchies, and every attempt fails. She operates outside the expected spectrum, making her unpredictable, uncontainable, and often intimidating to those who need order and labels to feel secure. Her rarity is subtle but unmistakable. She doesn't need to announce her uniqueness. It shows in the way she navigates life, measured, self-assured, and independent. People notice the difference instinctively, even if they can't articulate why she feels unlike anyone else. She doesn't need to dominate a room or submit to its pressures. She exists beyond the typical game, and that alone commands attention and respect. By refusing categorization, She rewrites the social rules around her. People quickly realize that old hierarchies don't apply to her, and trying to force her into them only exposes their own limitations. That's why she's too rare to categorize, and why anyone who encounters her senses that they're in the presence of someone truly exceptional. Number 6. She exposes hidden weakness in others. Her presence has a way of holding up a mirror to everyone around her. She doesn't push, prod, or call anyone out, yet her calm indifference exposes the cracks in others' facades. People who crave validation, seek control, or constantly demand recognition can't hide it when she's around. Her lack of reaction or neediness forces them to confront their own insecurities, often without her saying a single word. This isn't intentional cruelty, it's simply a byproduct of her self-containment. She operates from a place of internal stability, which naturally contrasts with those who rely on external approval to feel whole. In her calm, measured way, she highlights where others are weak, needy, or performative. Some people notice this and use it as a moment to reflect, adapt, and grow stronger. Others, however, feel threatened, frustrated, or even humiliated, resenting her quiet power simply because it forces them to face truths they'd rather ignore. Her ability to expose weakness is subtle yet undeniable. She doesn't confront or manipulate. She simply exists in her own centered space. That stark contrast makes it impossible for people to maintain their usual personas around her. They reveal themselves in small ways: the over-explaining, the overcompensation, the attempts to control the situation, all of which she observes without judgment. The result is magnetic and disruptive at the same time. People are drawn to her authenticity, yet they're unsettled by the unconscious truth she reflects back at them. She doesn't just occupy space, she unmasks the hidden fragility in others, making her presence transformative, intimidating, and unforgettable all at once. Number 7. She doesn't perform femininity, she redefines it. She doesn't conform to society's narrow ideas of what a woman should be. She doesn't perform femininity to gain approval, attract attention, or fit into someone else's expectations. Instead, she uses it strategically, like a tool that serves her purpose rather than defines her. Some days she is soft, gentle, and subtle, drawing people in without them realizing why. Other days she is sharp, direct, and commanding, cutting through pretense and expectation with ease. That fluidity makes her impossible to predict. People who try to label her, control her, or anticipate her behavior quickly realize they are grasping at air. She doesn't play by the usual rules of charm or decorum. She creates her own rules in real time, adjusting her energy and presence to what the moment requires. Her approach to femininity isn't about performance, it's about mastery. She understands how to wield it in ways that empower her rather than define her. She can be alluring without relying on appearance, persuasive without raising her voice, and commanding without aggression. The unpredictability keeps people on their toes because they can never assume how she will move, respond, or influence a situation. In redefining femininity, she also redefines power. She shows that strength doesn't have to be loud, dominance doesn't require aggression, and influence doesn't demand conformity. By refusing to be predictable, she becomes both magnetic and formidable, a force that challenges anyone who expects women to be simple, readable, or boxed into tradition. Number 8. Her past doesn't haunt her, it arms her. She doesn't run from her past, and she doesn't pretend it never happened. Every mistake, every heartbreak, every failure is something she examines, studies, and understands deeply. Where most people bury their experiences and let them fester as regrets or insecurities, she turns them into lessons, turning scars into strategy. Each painful memory becomes a blueprint for how she navigates life more wisely, more deliberately, and more powerfully. Her past doesn't weigh her down, it equips her. She knows which situations to avoid, which people to trust, and when to act with caution versus confidence. That knowledge gives her an almost instinctive sense of timing and judgment that others can't easily read. While some people carry their history as a burden, she carries it like armor, unseen, but incredibly effective. This isn't about vengeance or bitterness, it's about mastery. She internalizes experiences without letting them define her outwardly. That means, when challenges arise, she's not caught off guard. She has already dissected similar situations in her mind, analyzed potential outcomes, and prepared herself emotionally and mentally. Her past mistakes don't make her fragile, they make her formidable. The result is subtle but unmistakable. People who underestimate her often get caught off guard by her depth, insight, and resilience. Every scar she carries has a purpose, and every lesson she learned quietly shapes the way she moves through life. Her history doesn't haunt her, it arms her, giving her a strength that is invisible until it's too late for anyone else to counter. Number 9. She refuses validation economies. She doesn't trade her energy for approval, and she doesn't measure herself by the applause or attention she receives. Compliments, likes, or recognition don't inflate her ego, and their absence doesn't diminish it. Where most people unconsciously live in what could be called validation economies, giving, seeking, and manipulating approval to feel worthy, she is completely immune. That independence makes her unpredictable and untouchable in ways others can't easily understand. Society is built on subtle control systems that reward compliance and punish autonomy. When someone refuses to play by those rules, it disrupts the expected order. Her immunity to validation means she cannot be manipulated through praise or guilt. People who rely on attention, flattery, or public affirmation to influence her quickly realize they have no leverage. Her refusal is not about arrogance. It's about self-possession. She values herself according to her own metrics, not society's checklist or anyone else's standards. That creates a quiet but undeniable power. People notice it, often unconsciously, and it makes her presence both magnetic and disarming. By rejecting the need for external validation, she frees herself to make decisions that serve her goals and values, not someone else's expectations. That freedom breaks the invisible chains most people live under, and positions her as someone whose autonomy is absolute. No one can buy her loyalty, sway her opinion, or diminish her self-worth. And that level of independence is what makes her truly formidable. Number 10. Her loyalty has a razor edge. Her loyalty isn't casual or performative. It's deliberate, measured, and absolute. When she chooses to stand by someone, she commits fully, giving her trust and support without hesitation. People who earn her loyalty experience a depth of dedication that few understand, because it's rare, unwavering, and often life-changing. She doesn't spread it thin or hand it out lightly. It's reserved for those who truly deserve it. But her loyalty has limits, and crossing them comes with consequences. She doesn't tolerate betrayal, manipulation, or repeated disregard. Once her trust is broken, it's gone for good. There are no excuses, no apologies, and no second chances that can patch what was severed. The cut she delivers is final and definitive, not because she's vengeful, but because she values her integrity above all else. This razor-edge quality makes her both revered and feared. People quickly realize that gaining her loyalty is a privilege, and losing it is a serious mistake. She doesn't oscillate or compromise on matters of trust. Her boundaries are clear, and she enforces them without drama or spectacle. Her approach teaches a quiet but powerful lesson. Loyalty is not a commodity to be traded freely, nor is it a tool for control. It's a bond rooted in respect, discernment, and reciprocity. Anyone who underestimates her capacity for commitment or misjudges the finality of her withdrawal quickly learns that with a Sigma female, loyalty is as sharp and uncompromising as a finely honed blade. Number 11. She moves like a ghost in competitive spaces. She doesn't announce her moves, and she doesn't need applause to validate her progress. In spaces where others scramble, compete, and broadcast every achievement, she moves silently, deliberately, and strategically. By the time people notice her presence, she has already secured her position, outmaneuvered obstacles, and positioned herself far ahead of the chaos everyone else is tangled in. Her advantage comes from observation and patience. She studies the field, identifies patterns, and acts only when the timing is perfect. She doesn't rush for recognition or chase attention. She lets others expend energy on battles that don't matter, while she quietly accumulates influence, insight, and results. Her approach is invisible to most until the impact is undeniable. People around her often underestimate her because she doesn't broadcast her ambition. They mistake her calmness for inaction, failing to see the calculated moves happening beneath the surface. That invisibility becomes her greatest weapon. She is always several steps ahead, thinking, planning, and executing while others are still arguing over minor victories. Her quiet navigation of competitive spaces disrupts expectations. She proves that success doesn't always require noise, aggression, or spectacle. Instead, strategy, patience, and self-possession allow her to achieve far more than those who expend themselves on visible struggle. In essence, she is a force that moves unseen, yet leaves undeniable results in her wake, showing that true power often works in the shadows. Number 12. She turns loneliness into leverage. What others fear, the emptiness of being alone, she transforms into strength. Loneliness doesn't weaken her. It becomes a space where she grows sharper, wiser, and more self-reliant. While most people panic when they find themselves isolated, she uses it as a laboratory to study herself, refine her instincts, and build resilience that no crowd or social circle could ever provide. Isolation allows her to detach from the noise, the expectations, and the drama that so often cloud judgment. She observes the world with clarity, makes decisions without external pressure, and perfects the craft of being entirely self-sufficient. Where others see loneliness as deprivation, she sees opportunity, an uninterrupted arena for growth, strategy, and reflection. This ability turns what is often a weakness into a unique kind of leverage. People who rely on others for validation, attention, or support find themselves at a disadvantage when faced with her independence. Her solitude gives her freedom to act without compromise and to remain unpredictable in ways that unsettle those around her. Her strength in solitude also makes her magnetic. People are drawn to the aura of someone who doesn't cling, beg, or perform for approval. That quiet confidence, born from time spent alone, creates power without aggression, influence without coercion. By turning loneliness into leverage, she transforms what most fear into an unstoppable advantage, showing that true power is built in the spaces where most people feel most vulnerable. The Sigma female is a force that defies expectations, dismantles stereotypes, and rewrites the rules wherever she goes. She doesn't follow scripts, chase approval, or measure herself by society's shallow standards. Her silence carries weight, her loyalty cuts deep, and her independence is a power few can comprehend. She moves with a strategy that others overlook, turns solitude into strength, and uses every experience, past triumphs and scars alike, to arm herself for life's challenges. She is unpredictable, unreadable, and utterly untouchable, not because she seeks attention, but because she operates entirely on her own terms. Where others scramble for dominance, she steps aside, quietly 3 moves ahead, reshaping the game while remaining invisible to those trapped in conventional hierarchies. Her presence exposes weaknesses, commands respect without demanding it, and shows that true power is rooted in self-possession, clarity, and resilience. The Sigma female isn't here to perform or please. She's here to exist, thrive, and redefine what it means to be a woman in a world obsessed with labels, timelines, and expectations. Encountering her is a lesson in patience, observation, and respect, for she is the rare individual who doesn't just survive the chaos of life, she masters it. If this deep dive into the extraordinary world of Sigma females resonated with you, don't just watch, engage. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss content that challenges the ordinary and celebrates the extraordinary. Smash the like button if you felt the power of her presence. Share this video with someone who needs to understand what true independence looks like. And drop a comment below with your thoughts or experiences, because your perspective matters. Join the community, stay curious, and let's explore the minds and lives of the people who redefine the rules. Every click, like, and comment helps keep this space alive for bold, unfiltered insights. Don't just watch, be part of the movement.